Call to order.
Yes.
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 Yes. We'll have a moment of silence. Thank you. I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, we're going to depart a little bit from our agenda, and I just want to introduce Miss Megan Gordon. She's going to be the school board chair in January. Would you please stand, Miss Gordon? Thank you. She will be the school board chair starting in January. She takes this seat. I wish you the best of luck and congratulations. Okay. Thank you, Miss Gordon. Next on the agenda is information, agenda changes and additions. Dr. Fox?
Yeah, I believe we do need to add one in an action item. 8.05 is the approval of the minimum wage increase that we just discussed.
Okay. Any others?
No, thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the changes?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the changes.
Second.
I have a motion from Jackie Smoot Sutherland and a second from Dwayne Painter.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we're on to matters discussed in closed session. The roll call certification of matters discussed in closed session.
I certify that personnel matters discussed in closed session, according to the Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A, subsection 1 and subsection 8 pertaining to the discussion, consideration, or interview of prospective candidates for school board employment, appointments, transfers, resignation, retirements, discipline, or performance of employees of the school board in the areas of instruction, transportation, nutritional services, substitute, athletics, administration, and contracted services, as well for consultation with the school division attorney related specific legal matters.
I have a motion from Mrs. Jackie Smoot Sullivan,
Second.
and I have a second from Mr. Gubler.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is citizen comment. Okay. We only have one online, and I believe we all received that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is the review of minutes for October 2021. review of minutes for, is that review again, or is that? Okay, gotcha. All right, so it's just a review of the minutes for October and November. So basically, it's a reminder to review those for January for approval. Okay, the next item is consent agenda. On the consent agenda is approval for personnel action. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion from Dr. Painter and a second from Mr. Painter.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is an informational item, monthly financial supports. Ms. Sechrist?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and member of the board. You have been provided with the monthly financial report for November, where the total expenditures and revenue were $2,938,044.07. Along with that, you've been provided the local match calculation that we did balance with the treasurer's office. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions for Ms. Sechrist? Okay, hearing none, we move on to the next information, and that's the school activity funds audit presentation. Ms. Sechrist?
Yes, board, you all have been provided with a presentation as well as on the screen of the FY21 Student Activity Funds Report, the audit report back from when we did that. So we're going to just talk real quick about what student activity funds are and look at the revenue and disbursement trends as well as our audit results. So what are student activity funds? They are the funds that are generated from student and staff activities, events, and fundraisers. Is it not on the screen? Oh,
It's not projecting.
okay.
Hang on just a second.
You all have it as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just, can I move along if that's okay with you all? Or?
I think we need to try to get it to
For
project
the
because
public.
it's being
Okay.
streamed.
And it's not uploaded, so.
Mr. Samples, can you help us? You know why we can't get it to project?
Oh, it's on. It's presenting right now.
It's just not on our screen.
Yeah. It's on the, it's
Okay,
actually on the screen.
okay, wonderful.
So it is where the public can see it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, great.
Except here.
So again, what are student activity funds? They are generated from the student and staff activities, events, and fundraisers. They're used to promote the general welfare and education and morale of the students and staff in those buildings. And they're used to finance extracurricular activities for the student body. Student groups, clubs, staff organizations, they utilize these funds and to process all receipts and disbursements of these funds. These funds are also considered public funds and are subject to all school board policy and auditing and IRS regulations. They are governed by the school board policy DGC, school activity funds and school finance best practice. They are the guidance for the financial management and reporting of all the student activities, and they are consistent with controls for managing those funds. We have multiple levels of review, monthly and yearly, by several staff. So that could be club sponsors or staff members, our bookkeepers, principals, central office finance staff, as well as our external auditors. These school activity funds are audited monthly by the finance staff and then yearly by an external auditor. You also have a student activity funds revenue and disbursement trends. You can see the trend there for the last 3 years. And we can see that that trend has heavily been hit by COVID. Okay, and so where we have taken in less as well as dispersed less over the last 2 years. You also have a findings and recommendations chart. This is what was provided to us by the external auditors for each school and building. We had 4 schools that had no findings or recommendations. They had a clean audit. We had 4 schools that had 1 finding or recommendation. And then we had 1 school that had 2 findings or recommendations. And this is really outstanding because the folks at the schools, they handle a lot of transactions and disbursements. So the fact that they are doing such a great job, I'm really thankful for that. Lastly, I met with the bookkeeper, the principals, and some assistant principals at each school. We went over every single one of their individual audits and as well as the findings and recommendations. If they did have a finding or recommendation, we made an action plan on how that they could continue with the year forward to not have that same finding or recommendation for the next audit. Yes, sir.
Ms. Sechrist, could you give us an example? It doesn't have to be one that currently exists of a finding or recommendation.
So a finding or a recommendation could potentially be an auditor might say a deposit was not made in a timely manner, and a timely manner is 3 days. So, and that could happen where a staff member had it and then didn't give it to the bookkeeper in a timely manner, or it could happen where the bookkeeper might have potentially been out absent.
Chain of custody.
And then, yes, sir, the chain of custody, and then it wasn't deposited in with that 3-day time limit.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's an example.
Are
Yes,
there
sir.
written standards that every school follows?
Yes, sir. So my bookkeepers all have a guidelines type handbook, and then we all use the same school funds online software, which has the same setup and procedures for all of the locations. Yes, sir.
And there's checklists in that as well?
Yes, sir. They have a monthly reconciliation report that they all do that is then sent to me at the end of each month on all of their funds. Any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Sechrist.
Thank you.
Okay, with the next item is the superintendent's update. Dr. Cox?
Thank you. Are we going to be able to get it up? Sorry for the technical difficulties. We used up all of our good vibes on the Promethean board earlier.
Yeah.
This one's not on Board Doc.
No, I have not submitted this one yet. That's why I was hoping we could
Are
get
we
it up.
permitted to walk down and look at it?
Yeah, let me see if we can get it up there
Okay,
first.
copy that.
That or have a Promethean board.
That would work. for me.
So, yeah, would you guys like to? Thank you. Too long. All right, so we're going to begin tonight, as we do each month, and give you an update on where we are with our health data. So this is the trend for the daily case counts for the state of Virginia. We always start with this. And you'll see that where that dip is in the middle there, that was in October when we started to see things sort of recede a bit. And the final date that you can see over here on the right is for December 5th. So you can see that there's starting to be a little bit of an uptick again in the number of cases across the state. In the next slide, this is where we look at our daily transmission rates for our community transmission. So this is the number of new cases per 100,000. And you can see we jumped back up again. We're still in the high category, and you can see that uptick. Where you see that decrease here on the far right, that is from November the 6th, and then you'll see that jump is now through December the 4th. So in a month, we bumped back up. still in the high level. You're going to see that in the next slide as well. This is the percentage of positive PCR tests. And you'll see there we've actually come, we're pretty steady there. You'll see that uptick that you see is from November 27th. And then we've dropped down just a smidge in December. So right after Thanksgiving into December, you saw a little bit of a decrease there in that. What that puts, though, is we're still, both of those are in the high category. So the next slide shows you in terms of our indicator for community transmission, we're still at the high level. We have not come down from that yet. In terms of vaccine coverage, you do see a new statistic up there. We did add the ages 5 to 11 as they started to be eligible for the vaccine in early November. And what you'll see there is currently that's a 2.1%. That 2.1 represents the percentage of 5 to 11-year-olds who are fully vaccinated as of 12/9. If we look at the number of children in that age group who've had at least one dose, that percentage goes up to 5.6%. So because we're still early in that process, we'll see those numbers hopefully go up. We did have our 2 vaccine clinics that were sponsored in collaboration with the health department, and we ended up getting about 23 to 27 students, 5 to 11 vaccinated. So we do want to thank the health department for collaborating with us to do those vaccine clinics. You'll see that as of 12/4 across the state, we have a 77.1% vaccination rate, and Page County is now at a 53.6% vaccination rate. The next slide shows our our COVID dashboard. And you can see there the numbers are holding steady. We're doing okay, but we have seen a little bit of an uptick in cases and quarantining since we came back from the Thanksgiving break. The next series of slides are the ones you're used to seeing again each month. This is our level of school impact, where we look at the transmission within each school. We look at student absenteeism, and we look at staff capacity, and then we rank each of those as low, medium, or high. The next slide shows you that currently we're still sitting at low for all of those at each of our schools. So we are, I will say this, and I need the public's help. If anybody is interested in being a substitute, we really, really beg you to consider coming and being a substitute for us, even if it's for one day a week. Right now, our staff are stretched thin. They're having to cover each other's classes when staff are out, whether they're from sickness, quarantines, or just appointments. They are being absolutely stretched thin in terms of having to cover classes. So I'm going to use this time to pitch it out there to anybody who would consider coming and being a substitute for us. In January, we will be presenting to you our updated sub-pay scale, which will have an increase at all levels for those substitutes who might want to come and work for us. The next slide shows you the number of positive cases in PCPS for the month of November. And I know it's hard to see, the line at the top is our students. We ended the month with 7. And the bottom line is staff. We ended the month with 4. So you can see the fluctuation there in the number of positive cases across the division. The next slide shows you the first couple of days of December. We're currently sitting at 17 students that are positive and 8 staff members. The next slide show you the same 2 months, but are the quarantines. Again, the top line is our students, and in November we had 106 quarantines, 11 staff. And December, the next slide, is 165 quarantines and 20 staff members. And again, we're seeing that uptick simply because it's after the holidays. So that brings us to this slide where we would like to talk, and just as a reminder to all of our families and our staff, about when we come back after the winter break. While we're going to certainly enjoy our 2 weeks off, we know that typically after holidays and breaks, we do see an uptick in the number of cases. So we're going to ask our families to help us by continuing to practice those mitigation strategies as much as possible, with frequent hand washing, maintaining physical distance if they can, wearing a mask in various settings if they're not vaccinated, following the CDC guidance. We're going to practice good respiratory etiquette, and we ask families to stay home if they're not feeling well so that they don't potentially spread the virus. Also, when we come back from the break, we ask that they assess their child's health or a staff member assess their health each morning. And we beg you, please, to stay home if you're ill. We know that attendance matters, and we're going to talk about that in January with a focus on why attendance matters. But we really need families and staff members to help us if they're not feeling well or they're symptomatic to please stay home. And then we're going to continue to practice those mitigation strategies as we have all year at school. So any questions about health data before we move on to some other updates? Okay, thank you. So the first one is just some information for you as we begin to now move into our budget planning, which will start in January. We do expect the governor's budget to be released on December 16th, so that's next week. In January, we'll have the governor's inauguration. The General Assembly will convene. And the school board, we're going to begin our pre-budget planning. There is a change to the local composite index that we wanted to make you aware of that will impact the next biennium. And the LCI, it determines the school division's ability to pay for educational costs. The highest LCI right now in the state is 0.8 and the lowest is 0.1714. We are currently sitting in this biennium is 0.3198. As we move into the next 2-year budget cycle, our LCI will be 0.3163. So a higher LCI means that you have less ability to pay. So we've moved a little bit, not a lot. It shouldn't impact us a whole lot, but there'll be a little bit of a change there. And just so for the public, in terms of providing information on how LCI is calculated, I will say it's very, very complicated. Don't ask me any questions about it other than I know that we have our value and it's used, but they do look at, it's a formulary where they look at the true value of real property in the county. They look at the adjusted gross income of residents in the county, and they look at the taxable real estate, and that's how it's determined. The next slide. We talked with you all in October that we were doing some review of our crisis management plan. That committee has met, and we told you we would bring you an update. Based on that meeting, there's a couple of recommendations moving forward. One is that we need to do a really substantial review of our entire plan section by section with school administrators, local emergency services staff, and central office staff. There's some significant revisions that we need to make, and the best way to do that is to just take it section by section. We're going to coordinate with local emergency services to conduct what are known as tabletop scenario exercises with school administration and staff. So to give you an example, that might be we put out a scenario like there's an active shooter in a building, what do you do? And you work through the steps. We work through what our division protocols are, and then you work through what your school-based protocols are. We're going to evaluate school-level emergency plans and then align them with our revised division emergency plan. And we're also going to make crisis management an ongoing agenda item at all of our administrative meetings. So we'll take different pieces of it, whether they're weather emergencies or crises such as a school shooting, a health emergency for a student or a staff member, and work through those with our school administrators. So in spring and summer, we're going to do that full review that we talked about. We're going to begin some of those tabletop exercises in the spring of 2020. And we have been given a commitment by local emergency services and other staff in the towns that they will assist us in that. So that's going to be really helpful for all of us to have those conversations. And then in August of 2022, we will bring to the board a revised crisis and emergency management plan. Any questions about budget or crisis management before we move on? All right, we just wanted to provide you with an update about the BioNex Now at-home COVID-19 tests. School staff will be providing these test kits to students who are symptomatic free of charge. They are voluntary, they're not required. We don't want anyone thinking we're requiring them to be tested, but we do encourage you to use them as they're free. Test must be taken at home under the direction of a virtual proctor. So when you get the test, you'll get all of the information, and you can log on either on a computer, a laptop, or your phone, and you'll be proctored how to administer that test. It is a 15-minute test. It's an antigen test, and it will give you a positive or a negative result. We have ordered and we've confirmed today that we have 504 more of the test kits coming to us next week. And then we just want to say, if you don't want to use the BioNex Now kit, you can still go to a clinic here. You can use your family healthcare provider or any other testing service in order to get that result. The VDH has said that antigen-based tests can be used to remove someone from quarantine. So we're going to follow that guidance and allow this test. VDOE recommends that we use this and allow it to help us mitigate some of the quarantining that might be happening. We are looking into current DOLE, which is the Department of Labor and Industry Standards. They currently say that employees must, in order to come out of a quarantine, they can only have a PCR test, not the rapid antigen test. So we're going to hold to that for now for our staff. We have asked our attorney to provide us with some additional guidance on that. And if at any point we can allow staff to also use the BioNex tests for rapid testing to get out of quarantine, we will provide those free of charge to staff as well. And just an update from Nutritional Services. They did receive or have completed their 2020-2021 procurement review to assess the compliance of all procurement activities utilizing the funds from the nonprofit food service account. All areas were satisfactorily addressed with no with no findings. So we want to commend the food services staff on that. We also want to update our board and those in attendance here and online about our holiday food distribution plans. We will be pushing out more information next week with more details. But on Friday, December 17th, we're going to be sending home bags with snacks. Those will be offered to all of the students as they leave to go home. It is optional. If students want to take it, they can take it. If they don't want to, they don't have to. On Monday, December the 20th and Monday, December the 27th, we will be having our meal bus in each of the towns, and they'll be distributing snacks, breakfast items, and other food that's going to be donated from Page One, PACA, and other resources. So again, we'll push out details about the times, the places, all of that to make sure people are aware of all of those details. But we are excited that we will be able to provide some food resources to our students over the 2-week winter holiday. We did have our first substitute fair on this past Saturday. We had 4 people who came. We're grateful for those 4 people. We will take 4 subs any day. We'll start small and work big. So we just want to thank those participants. They had an opportunity to complete paperwork, had screening interviews, and underwent some initial training. So thank you to them and to our PCPS staff who assisted with that on a Saturday. The other thing we want to just make everyone aware of is a save the date for Wednesday, February 23rd. PACA will be sponsoring a community event, a conversation with the best-selling author Sam Quinones, who has written the books. The one that this talk will reference is The Least of Us, True Tales of Hope in the Times of Fentanyl and Meth. And that will be from 6:30 to 8:30 here at Luray High School, and it's free and open to the public. So again, we'll push that information out as well. We'd like to invite all of you to join us for our holiday concerts. Right now, there's one going on at Page High School for the middle school and the high school, so we hope that's going well. Monday at 6 o'clock here will be Luray Elementary School. Wednesday will be Luray Middle and Luray High School at 6:30. Thursday, we have 2. We have Springfield Elementary at 6 o'clock. They'll be here at Luray High School. And on Thursday, Shenandoah will be at Page County High School at 6:30. So we hope you guys can join us. Stanley Elementary is planning their program for January. We will post these dates on the website for everybody. We just wanted to take a moment to thank you, Mr. Breeden, as our chair for 2021. We wanted to thank you for all of your efforts on behalf of our students, our staff, our faculty, our parents, and our community for your service this past year. So we wish you well. And finally, the last thing I have, and I'll stop talking, is we just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. Just remind everyone that we did make that calendar change last month. So our winter break will be from Monday, December 20th through Friday, December the 31st. And we'll see everybody back in school healthy on Monday, January the 3rd. So thank you, board. That's all I have for you tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Fox.
Thank you.
Next item is an action item. Claims for payment, Ms. Sechrist.
Yes, good evening again, board. You all have been provided with the claims certification where the operating expenditures were $102,737.77. Food service expenditures were $28,244. Total expenditures, $130,981.77. Along with this, you've been provided the list of claims as well as the check register. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions for Ms. Sechrist? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the payments, claims for payment?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the claim for payment as presented by Mrs. Seekers.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Painter and a second from Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is an action item, purchase orders over 10,000. Ms. Sechrist?
Yes, board, we have several purchase orders over 10,000 this evening for your approval. The first three are for special education purchase services. The fourth one is a purchase service used to complete the Gatsby 75 evaluation, which is a report that is required by our auditors. The next one is an ESSER 3 grant for Edgenuity, nutritional service purchase order, as well as a transportation purchase order. The last purchase order is a correction for the Shenandoah Playground. You all have seen this purchase order. However, the dollar amount was not correct last month, so we wanted to resubmit that to you all so you could see the correct dollar amount. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
And just for clarification, the Shenandoah Elementary one is just a correction from a misnumber on the last.
Yes, sir, from
Purchase
the
order
last
over
board
10,000.
meeting at the last purchase order, yeah.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve the purchase orders over 10,000 as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase orders over 10,000.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Sutherland Smoot and a second from, was it Tommy? Mr. Lansbury?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item is an action item, overnight field trip. Mr. Benson?
Good evening, members of the board. Tonight we have one overnight field trip request. This request came from Luray High School. We have 4 students and 2 chaperones, and they are asking to go to the CADCA Leadership Forum. This is part of the efforts, the YPACA efforts that you saw at the last meeting where the students presented. The overnight dates are January 31st through February 2nd. And there will be no costs for the students to attend. Those costs are covered. And we have secured a van for the students to go in, so they will be riding in Page County Public School transportation, and one of the advisors will be driving the van.
County employee.
County employee, yes, sir.
And where is it located?
This is up in Baltimore,
Okay.
up in the National Harbor.
Any questions for Mr. Benson? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the,
Approve the overnight field trip request by Mr. Benson.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the overnight field trip from Dr. Painter and a second from Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the next item for approval is policy update EFA, charging meals in the school cafeteria. Dr. Fox?
Yes, thank you. Board members, I'm bringing this back to you. You actually originally saw this back in June. There is one minor correction that we're asking you to approve tonight, and that's on page 2. And it's removing the term or the statement "or court system" as a collection means for any students who may have a balance on their lunch account. Making that correction brings us into compliance legally, as we can no longer do that. So I ask for your approval tonight of this policy correction change.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the policy correction change as stated.
I have a motion from Mr. Gubler. Do I have a second?
Second.
From Mr. Painter.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item on the agenda, I didn't forget this one this time. Next item on the agenda is the minimum wage increase. Dr. Fox?
Yeah, so tonight, Board, I'd like to ask you to approve the minimum wage increase from January of 2021 through June of 2021 for those employees to bring them in compliance with federal requirements of the minimum wage standard.
Did I make a correction? I believe your
Yeah.
dates were wrong.
What did I say? Oh, June 2022. Thank you.
Well, both of them, January 2022 to
Thank you. Yeah, I do have a degree, I promise.
Okay.
Let me reframe that. January of 2022 through June of 2022. Thank you, Mr. Gubler.
Do you have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the minimum wage increase as presented for January 22 through June 22.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mrs. Sutherland Smoot. Do I have a second?
Lansbury?
From Mr. Lansbury.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is board members' discussion time.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have 3 things. First, I'm very proud to be able to make this announcement. But one of our graduates from Page County High School by the name of Juliana Comer Thomas has been hired as the executive assistant to our new governor. And I believe it was the class of 207 or 208, and I'm sorry that I don't have that down. And she is a graduate of JMU, and she's already working. So we are very proud to have a graduate from the Page County Public School System to be able to be hired in this position. Secondly, from the town of Shenandoah to the Page County Public School System for the playground equipment that is going to be used in the town of Shenandoah, probably around the big gym or the pond and everything, not in that area, but over where they have the pavilion. And they're very appreciative. And they asked me if I would say thank you. And my last thing is, I would like to take this time to present a small token of our appreciation to you, Mr. Breeden.
Thank you.
For serving as our chairperson for the year of 2021. Been a lot of things to learn and find out, and you've brought a lot of good things to the table. And so, just so you don't forget us, we give you this little token and a big thank you for
Thank
all
you.
your service during this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
You think he's gonna forget us?
I don't think it's quite possible to forget the time on the board, given what we've been through.
Yes.
I do appreciate the gift. I do appreciate everyone's time and consideration with me being your chair this year. It's been an honor to serve, and it's been a pleasure. don't want to get broken up too much, but it's been great. It's been wonderful being around such professional people that speak their piece in their mind and stand up for children, and that's great. So I thank you for that. So it's been an honor to serve with you. And best wishes moving forward, because you got some challenges coming. So best wishes.
And I would like to echo what Jackie said. I don't know if everybody realizes that, Mr. Breeden and Amy as well, but Mr. Breeden did a lot of the running. He probably saved the county $10,000 in the search, because we could have went a different direction, let it all be done for us. But he, along with other people, really did a great job with that. So I appreciate anybody that wants to do public service, particularly in the last couple of years that we've been on the board. It's been quite contentious. And I think we're in a better place than when you came. And I give a lot of that credit to Dr. Fox and everybody else rallying around her as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other board members?
Couple items. I just wanted to echo what was already said by two board members here. I want to thank you personally for all the time and the hard work that you put in over the last year. It was a difficult year. There was a lot that we had to sort of overcome. And I wanted to say a special note was your tireless work with the superintendent search process, because you really did put in quite a bit of work. And I like, in particular, your idea, I think it was your idea, to bring in some of the community and also bring in some of the staff as part of that vetting process. And you really kind of took the bull by the horns there, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
The second item is, so I'm concerned about the potential for continued COVID transmission, especially with winter sports. So, as a reminder to student athletes, if you're feeling ill, stay home, right? It's pretty simple. If you're going, stay home, don't go to school, don't go to sporting events. Really, student athletes should strongly consider getting vaccinated. I tell you why. It's not only because it protects you and your fellow students and the staff here at PCPS, but it allows you to continue playing and participating in sports and practices if you're exposed to a COVID positive person. If you are exposed to a COVID positive person and you're not vaccinated, you're out for 14 days. And you also lose that instructional time. So that's my point.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? I only have one. I was asked by a community member what was the one thing on the board that I felt most proud of. And the one thing I must say is the superintendent search. And certainly I didn't do it alone. All members of the board played a role in it, and a very vital role. I think, however, we did find a very superior person to serve as superintendent. I do leave that as part of my time on the board, and it's part of my legacy. So I hang it on you. Don't mess it up. So I may be leaving the board officially, but I'm always around if any member of the board or the superintendent should need my insight for anything. I certainly do have a voice, and I will speak it. So don't be shy to ask, because I won't be shy to give it. But I do enjoy the time that I have enjoyed the time I've spent on the board and the endeavors that I've had to encounter. But most assuredly, my time and my relationship with Dr. Fox. It's going to be hard not talking to you all the time, but certainly you'll move on, and Ms. Gordon will be a great board chair. You have a lot on your hands. You will have a lot on your hands. If there's anything I can do to help you, just give me a call. I'd be certain to give you my advice, take it or leave it. But I certainly do leave the business in most capable hands to my right and to my left. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other members? Do I have a motion for adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion from Miss Jackie Sullivan Smoot,
Second.
and I have a second from Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Ooh, my last time for this. Meeting is adjourned.